though she's Catholic, is very pro-abortion. And she was more than happy to let that be in the first version because she knew she was going to strip it out in the second version. And so then we had Bart Stupak, remember Congressman Stupak from Michigan, who was the leader of the pro-life effort for Democrats. And there are not many left, and there weren't many left then, but he was one of the few, and he led the effort. And so, but there were enough votes to block Obamacare from going through. Remember, this thing passed by the slimmest of margins and got through on some really seedy things. Remember, it was 51 votes that got it through the Senate when 60 are normally required. But they did it under this reconciliation, this budgetary giving. And then they were able to pull this thing with Bart Stupak and others. They convinced him that, look, we're not going to put the Hyde Amendment language in there, but what we will do is we'll create an executive order, and the president will promise you that you don't have to worry about the conscience problems and the issues with taxpayer funding of abortions. Well, we talked to Bart, and we urged him not to go along with this because we saw danger in that. And there were other pro-lifers who in the Democrat side who followed him. Well, sure enough, that's what they did. That was the compromise, was to come up with a promise from the president and an executive order. Now, executive order, what is that? It's simply a letter that it's really a rule made up by the president. It can be rescinded like that by that president or any other president. He could even decide not to respect it or implement it. It doesn't carry the weight of law. And somehow, Bart Stupak bought it. And as a result, he's a former congressman today. It ended his career. He thought this was going to jettison him to be a committee chairman. Instead, it ended his career and the career of several others. As well it should, because now we've got to deal with these problems. And what propped up was an interim rule by the president, the head of Sebelius, head of HHS. They said, look, I don't care whether you're Catholic, non-Catholic, it doesn't matter. You're going to have to provide contraceptives, you're going to have to provide sterilization, and you're going to have to provide abortion pills, what we call abortifacients. These are pills that can actually create an abortion in the first week or so after conception. That you're going to have to do that. If you're going to provide health care, if you have a Catholic-run, Catholic-owned, operated, whatever facility, you're going to have to do all the things that we tell you you're going to have to do. And the bishops went crazy because the bishops had been in on the original deal with the president, where he promised them, like Bart Stupak, that he wouldn't do that. He double-crossed them. He double-crossed the bishops, and that's why the bishops are so upset about this and why it was even read in Mass and all this. Well, the president backtracked with an accommodation. Now, what did he really do? All he did was keep the same rule in effect. He has not changed not even a dotted I in that rule, and it's going to become a final rule. He just simply said, we're not going to enforce it that way. We're just going to require you, for you to pay the insurance company and have the insurance cover this. Well, look, folks, a lot of the Catholic institutions are self-insured. They provide their own insurance. So it doesn't make any difference whether your premiums are paying for it, if you're self-insured, if you have your own clinic, own site or whatever. It's the same deal for you. And again, even that interpretation can be changed with the flick of an eye. It's a joke, folks. All of these conscience protections are taken out. Now, does it really matter? Because people would say, well, Fleming, you're against contraception, you're anti-woman and whatever. Folks, I prescribe contraceptives for years. I'm not Catholic. I think they're perfectly fine. I have no religious objection to that at all. IUDs, I put in a lot of IUDs. I don't do abortions, and I certainly don't support abortion in any way. That is not the point. That is not the point. The point is that you have a First Amendment right not to do something that is against your moral and religious belief. And the government does not have the constitutional authority to make you do that. That is the problem. So it has nothing to do with being pro-woman or anti-woman. It has not, someone asked me today, well, you know, plans will be required by Obamacare to cover Viagra. So do you have a problem with that? I said, if it offends someone's moral conscience, yes, I will not support requiring someone to prescribe or pay for Viagra. However, I do not know a single organization that has a problem with prescribing or paying for Viagra. But if it does, I will respect someone's right. Folks, back, I don't know, 30, 40, 50 years ago, we began to see the movement by the federal government of religion out of the public square. Whether you agree with that or not, that's what happened, okay? The so-called separation of church and state, which is not anywhere in the Constitution. That's something a judge came up with. But now we have something new. Now we have the government inserting itself into the church itself. And folks, that is flat unconstitutional. And in fact, even with the liberal justices that we have in the Supreme Court today, based on a recent decision having to do with religious freedom, some of you may have heard about this. It was about some ministerial people on the staff of the church who were fired because they were teaching something against that denomination. And they sued and said, I should keep my job even though I'm teaching something a little different than what the church says I should teach. Well, the church won 9-0. Even all the liberal judges voted in their way. Why? Because that is a waiver right that is constitutional. That if you're going to work for a church and you're going to be in a position to teach church doctrine, you better teach their church doctrine or they can fire you. That is their right to do that.
But you're teaching, but you're in a setting, but in that scenario, you're in a setting where people willingly come to hear your church doctrine, and that's, in a sense, you teaching them, you can't really go against that. However, other women who are not Catholic and women who believe in contraception come to the hospital, and therefore for you not to give them that, it's like you are imposing your religion on that person.
But should you be able to impose upon them to do something? Well, wait, listen. Then are you saying that you as the patient can impose on me that I have to perform a procedure that's against my conscience and my religion?
If your office does not perform abortion, I would not come to your office. However,
that's the whole point.
But if we go to a hospital,
well,
and you're getting fed, I don't understand.
No, see, you have to understand that there's nothing about this that prevents a woman from getting any of these things. It doesn't. If you don't want to go to a Catholic hospital and have an abortion, go to another hospital. Go to the city hospital. Go to abortion.
Like in Coshada River Parish, the only hospital in Coshada is Christus Cabrini, or Christus whatever.
Well, if you want birth control,
and then you have to go either to Natchitoches Regional Medical Hospital, which is 30 miles away, or you have to go to Shreveport, which is also another 30, 40 miles away. So in some cases in rural areas, the only hospital is a
well, then that ought to be a great business for some entrepreneurial doctor or a hospital to set up business. There's plenty of business there to provide those services that the Catholic hospital or institution is not willing to do.
But the Catholic hospital main
does every town have a super Walmart? Does every town have a super Walmart? You may have to go to another town that has one. You have access and you have options. Why can't I have the options?
That's not necessarily true in rural areas.
It's not.
Which of those procedures are an emergency?
What are you talking about?
Which of those procedures are an emergency?
If you
Birth control pills?
well, I don't think she's talking about routine contraception. The debate has been with cases of women who have emergency situations, such that they're hemorrhaging, they may have some kind of complication during their pregnancy, and the only way, not every time, but if the mother is in danger, or the female is in danger, they may have to do a procedure that may wind up lead to an
Catholic
abortion.
hospitals will provide that procedure.
So that's the
If you
debate,
have-
and I think that is her concern. The issue that I have here, being that based on the audience here, that the lady here and myself are probably the only two people here of reproductive age, we take issue with the fact, and this is not rehearsed. I'm a young woman, I'm not
I know a lot of women of reproductive age.
But I have real issue that middle-aged men are debating this issue.
You can respond to me.
But I'm a constituent, and it's a
I know a lot of women who are reproductive age.
Because I mean,
who
I'm
are
trying to stay away
pro-life.
from that divisive issue, but since this gentleman brought it up, you know, we take issue with
You can
people
take
have
issue all you
well,
want.
yeah,
You're
no,
gonna
I
have
do
to
take issue
amend the
because
Constitution
you're
of the
part
United
of a
States.
party that
If you don't like
provides
the Constitution,
legislation
then you
to
change the
women,
Constitution.
to
Change it.
women,
If you can get it past the nine
you're
justices
imposing
in
your
the
views
Supreme
and
Court,
imposing, you talk
you're
about
more than
government
happy to do
intrusion
that. Yes,
to
sir.
uterus.
You're so dead set against Mr. Obama's ruling on this, take it to the Supreme Court yourself.
It is going to the Supreme
Okay,
Court.
well, then we'll find
It
out.
is. There have been a number of
Can I
ones.
change the subject?
Yes, please.
Yeah, sure.
Last question we got.
Okay, sorry, we're gonna have to end things.
I'm a military retiree. My name's John Mick, I live out in Pawtucket. Most people don't realize that the money pays military retirements as well as TRICARE for Life comes out of the DOD budget. It's not coming out of the general fund. Now, so the military has to make a choice. The military has to make a choice between getting bullets, tanks, and planes, or funding military retirements and your TRICARE for Life medical. So my question is, sir, what can you, as a congressman, do to introduce legislation to ensure that those military retirement benefits, which were earned by many years of service by many people, are not put on the chopping block because they just happen to be in the DOD budget, as opposed to where all of Congress's benefits come from, or all of the other federal employees' benefits come from the general funds.
Okay. Well, first of all, there's, I think, three kinds of TRICARE. There's the regular for families.
TRICARE for Life is the one I'm more.
I know that's, but I need to explain, not everybody here understands what that is, so I want everybody to understand the context. Families, and even active duty members, I think, sometimes have to, that comes straight out of DOD, as you say. Then you have that's in the period from, say, retirement up to age 65, which I think is called something else.
TRICARE Prime or
Prime,
TRICARE
yeah.
Standard. It
Right.
starts as Standard, becomes TRICARE Prime if you want to pay them.
And then you have TRICARE for Life, which is really a supplement policy to Medicare.
Takes the 20% that Medicare
Right,
does.
and so what's happened, first of all, is that whatever happens to Medicare happens to TRICARE for Life. That's one thing. And as you heard me say, because that's the big piece of your pie when it comes to healthcare, it's the Medicare part, not the TRICARE for Life part. And so, as you heard me say, it's running out of money in 4 to 8 years. So that is a big problem, much bigger than what we're looking at. The chiefs at the Pentagon, this has been their position. Oh, well, let me say what my position is. All the TRICARE programs, the fees, not the down payments, but the co-payments, et cetera, have been lagging way behind the rest of private insurance. I say, so what? These are the men and women who make the sacrifices, and that's the least that we can do for them. So if they get a better deal out of their insurance, I'm all for it, and I'm going to be against raises. Now, what I have said, and what I do believe, is that over time we may have to have nominal increases that at least are, to some degree, in relationship to just regular nominal inflation, which, as you know, inflation has been very small anyway. What I'm against, and what I will always vote against, is significant cuts or significant increases in cost or out of pocket or any of those things for any level of TRICARE, any of those three groups.
But what about our pay and allowances? That also comes out of the DOD budget.
Well, are you talking about for active duty or retired?
Retires.
There is none of that. That's a statutory commitment.
Okay, so that cannot
Yeah,
be,
no, that
by
can't be.
this sequestration, that
No.
can't be it. Okay,
No,
thank
that
you.
can't.
That's what I wanted to find
No,
out.
no. All of these benefits, about the only thing that could be affected would be, again, the deductibles and co-payments. And again, I think the service chiefs are like me on this. Nominal increases that go along with nominal inflation is probably okay. People seem to be okay with that. But any significant increases, and certainly there's a big differential, a big delta between what private insurance is and active duty and retired. But again, I say, so what? For many people who joined the military, they thought they were going to get free